Hello, welcome to Do It Yourself with Wayne. Today I'm going to show you how to add or repair one of these little switches like up here in the corner that you can put on your lamp cord to turn your lamp off and on. Now we've got one, which is the one up here that's broken, that goes on our scented wax melter for melting wax for the incense and stuff. And it's broken, and if you have one like that that's broken, please don't use it. It's an electrical safety hazard. It can be very dangerous. But I'm going to show you how to replace this today. And if you wanted to add one to a cord where you don't have one, the procedure is basically the same, and I'll be covering that as well. To get started, the first thing you're going to want to do is order a new switch. Now we went to local hardware store because I like to shop local when I can. And I found out through trial and error that there's different sizes of these wires. And most of them is an STP-2 size, which is what size ours is. We've tried several other lamps in our house, and they're also the STP-2, so I think that's the most common. But the first switch that we bought at our local hardware store was for STP-1. And it won't work on this cord. This cord is too big to fit in it. So we had to get another switch that is STP-2. So there is different sizes of wire. So you have to be careful when you order your switch. And if you don't know, I would get the SPT-2 because I think it's the more common size. Now to get started, if all you're going to do is replace a switch, all you're likely to need is a screwdriver. This is a Phillips. In most cases, Phillips or straight blade would work. If you're going to add a switch on a cord where you don't have one, you're probably going to be you're going to need some wire cutters. You're going to need to cut the wire. Wire cutters work well. And you may need a pocket knife or a knife of some sort. A sharp kitchen knife would work, X-Acto knife, something like that, just something. And what you have to do is in the middle of the wire, and I'll show you a picture up in the corner, you got to split the length of it right in there just a little bit. And then you got to cut one side. And that's why you need the knife and the wire cutters. But anyway, I'm going to set these aside. I'm going to show you how to replace this. Now what I would recommend, there's a little nut on the back side that'll fall out and get lost if you're not careful. So I always put my finger under it on that nut when I take the screw out. And then I carefully let that screw fall out, if it will. This one doesn't want to fall out. There it is. You can see how small it is. They're easy to lose. And this is the inside of the switch where the wire's at. And basically you want the new switch mounted in there the same way, but different switches will have different arrangements of how the wire goes in there. So you have to look at the diagram that comes with your switch, but basically it looks like this. I'll put a picture up in the corner of a couple other different layouts that we've seen. But anyway, you take that out. Now we've got our old switch off, and we're going to start with putting the new one on there. First thing you got to do is take the new one apart. So again, put your thumb or your finger underneath the bottom where that little nut's at so you don't lose it. Just let it fall out. Right there it is. Pull these apart. Sometimes they're stiff, but just wiggle them. Because typically the screw does not come out. You just loosen it, but typically they don't come out. Now in this one, the wire sits in there differently than it did in the original one. And I'll show you a picture of this up at the top. But I had to cut a little bit. You know, these ends were longer with the other switch arrangement. So I had to trim them some because of the switch does have the wire mount inside of it differently. So I just had to trim the ends a little bit, put them back in there. And this part goes on top. And you just mash it together. Put my little nut in the bottom. Tighten the screw down. When you tighten this screw, tighten it good and snug, but don't over tighten it because this is plastic. You can break it. But the main thing is, just mash the two parts together because there's little contacts inside I don't know if you can see this, but there's one of those little contacts right there on the old one. Those contacts actually mash into the through the insulation of the wire, and that's how they make contact. All right, so that's it. That one is replaced. And here again, to add one where you don't have a switch like this on your wire, basically the procedure is the same. You just have to, slit a little bit of the wire, cut it, and then depending on whether you need to cut some out of the middle or not would depend on the switch that you got. So that's about it. So now let's plug this thing in and see if it works. So there you go. That's all it takes to replace one of these little line switches on a lamp cord, or add one where you don't have it. And as you can see, ours, I think you can see the light in this thing. You can't see it too good there in the camera, but it is working. I'll take this off, and I'm going to point it right at the camera, but there we go. You can see it's all on there and off there. Just turn it off and on with this little switch on the line. So anyway, that's how you can replace one that's broken or add one where you don't have one. If you find this useful, please click like and share it with your friends and subscribe to our channel. We'd really appreciate it. And we'd just like to say we really thank you for visiting Do It Yourself with Wayne, and we hope you have a great day.